Good afternoon. I believe that I'm now standing between you and drinks. Product ownership. The way that we talk about product ownership in the Agile community generally is broken. My premise is that how it's been spoken about, how it's been taught, how it's been implemented in most organizations actually sets us up very often to fail. But I suppose I should say a little bit about who I am. I'm the Director of Agile Learning Programs for the International Consortium for Agile, IC Agile. We are a accreditation body and certification body devoted to improving the quality of Agile learning globally. I've been doing stuff that sort of looks like Agile since the mid-1980s. In the early 2000s, I read the first book on extreme programming, and it just resonated. That was how I wanted to work, and fortunately at the time I was leading teams of developers, and we implemented XP out the box, and you know what, it worked. It was weird. But we even did pair programming and all of those scary things, and it made products better. But much, much more important than that, I've got a large family, 5 children, and today I now have 7 grandchildren. Much, much more fun, much more important. By the way, those of you who are parents, you take your children to your grandparents, they fill them full of sugar and they send them home. We do it deliberately. Deal with it. I've been on the board of the Agile Alliance. I'm the lead editor for culture and methods for InfoQ.com. I've contributed to a variety of different, horrible terms, standards, particularly around the business analysis community, the Agile extension to the business analysis body of knowledge, and the latest version of the business analysis body of knowledge. It's my fault. You can blame me that the Backlog guide went from 270 pages to 512. Our goal was to make it short, and we failed. Okay, so my agenda. We'll look at the product owner role, we'll look at a little bit about project types, and I want to bring in this concept of a value-focused subset of the team, that product ownership as a team sport. And putting value first, we might spend a couple of minutes looking at that, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll see how time goes. So here is the Scrum Guide definition. The product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product and the work of the development team. How this is done may vary widely across organizations, Scrum teams, and individuals. That's a good thing. The product owner is the sole person responsible for managing the backlog. That's a scary thing. And this is where it falls down. We need decision makers. We need clarity of direction. Absolutely. But I feel, my premise, is that responsibility of product ownership is way, way too big for any single individual in any organization of any reasonable size. Maybe if you're running your own startup. I was my own product owner for a product. We built a system for revenue accounting for small to medium-sized airlines. I sat down next to the revenue accountant and we made the decisions together. The organization was 5 people. It was small enough we could do that.
Is that better? So what's broken in product ownership? Take 3 minutes, and I'll time you. Talk to somebody sitting close to you and figure out, come up with what are some of the anti-patterns, some of the problems that you've seen of product ownership. And there's rewards for good answers. So I did say talk to somebody. One minute. Okay. So what are some of the common problems that you've seen? So call it up.
So one of the anti-pattern would be the product owner is relaying the information from customers to the product team or the managers or the development team, and not having a vision of how the product is shaping and how will it look in the future.
So just taking orders.
Yeah, just like taking orders from food.
Thank you. Yeah, these are brains, by the way.
No ownership.
No product ownership. So what does that mean? Yeah.
Because many times the product owner decision is undermined by the management.
Ah, okay. So you're the product owner, but don't do anything that I don't tell you. Yeah. Yeah.
Owner is just a messenger. He just pass.
Yeah. So just passing the message on.
This duplicate the roles. Product owner also become a scrum master and also the development team sometimes.
Oh, product owner on the team as a developer and a scrum master. Oh.
Okay, he wins.
Right. So you take a project manager, you give them 2 days of training, they get certified. My fault. And then they are now the product owner. Yeah. Right, so just following checklists, not looking at value. Well done. Yeah.
Managing expectations between the capabilities of the development team.
Not managing expectations. I've still got a few more brains. Let me go down that end. Yep, Sylvain.
The product owner is the only one who writes stories.
Oh, yes. Yes, the product owner spends their whole life writing user stories. Nobody else is involved. Not knowing what but I know what they need.
Yeah.
The product owner may not to be a technical person or may not have enough time to handle the backlog.
So too busy. Yeah, do another job, but in your spare time, be the product owner for this critical product for our organization. Yeah.
Okay, sometimes actually just paying attention too much on the problem instead of the quality, and then you just want to ship the product.
Yeah, just ship the product. Get the user stories out. We'll measure velocity. Yeah, quality be damned.
The product owner can only know what to create, but cannot tell the team why he created it.
Do it because I said so. Cool. Almost out of brains. One more. So, not addressing the main problem, and what's causing that? Yeah. So not exploring the bigger picture and the system and so forth. Great. Thank you. All right. So some of you at least, we can say for sure, have brains. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. All right, Agile. When we think of the environments that we're in today, there is no standard. One of the conversations we were having in the Q&A session across the passage was, how do we come up with standards? But every environment is different. Every initiative is different. Every team is different. They're different in terms of the complexity of the problem and the complexity of the solution. If we're doing enhancements or if we're building new features, new capabilities, or we're in that bet the company, everything is up for grabs, or maybe we're just making a simple business process change. Please do not try and use the same process on every single initiative. How many of you are implementing SAFe? All right, I didn't say that. You might recognize this thing. Now, this is UTXTN describes the Cinderella project, the perfect agile environment. In an article in Better Software in 2008, she described the Cinderella project, the small co-located team with generic skills, an engaged customer at your beck and call, absolutely clear terms. We know precisely where we're going, short duration, web-based, user-centric. You've got this subject matter expert or customer sitting right next to you. I had that, it was cool. We know why we're doing it, and nobody is a shared resource. Ever worked on one of those? Yeah. But that's what all the Agile books talk about. She called it the Cinderella project for a reason. It's a fairy tale. And they all lived happily ever after. Oh, no. No. Our reality, however, is a lot more complex than that. You've got people spread across 9 different time zones. You've got resources 50% allocated to 9 different projects at the same time. 450% utilization looks good on the timesheet. You've got no clear terms of reference. You've got a steering committee who can't agree. Ever worked on one of those? Yeah. Unfortunately, that's more often the reality today. Because our environments are complex. And what's useful is to actually take a little bit of time and step back and think, what is the complexity in our environment? And this is a model from Philippe Christian. And he calls it the Octopus Model because there are 8 factors to take into account. Things that you need to consider that are going to influence the way that you're going to be able to work in a team environment. Size. We know the difference between a big and a small initiative. Now, I don't particularly care what unit of measure you use. We know the difference between big, small, and medium. And big ones generally tend to be harder to do. The level of criticality, how much do we care if this thing goes wrong? Do we kill people? Missile guidance systems, we kill the wrong people. Air traffic control systems, we kill whole planefuls of people at a time. Now, if you're building some of those systems, I really do hope that you've got all sorts of quality processes in place, and I want to see real good testing, please. Not testing in production. Especially not if I'm on the plane. On the other hand, maybe the risk factors are about losing some money. We heard about this morning, losing other people's money. Well, that's okay, right? Versus losing your own money versus, I don't know, being slightly embarrassed because there's a spelling mistake on the website. What's our business model as an organization? Do we sell software and that is our business? Or are we a bank and software is something that we do that supports our ability to deal with customers? How stable is the architecture that we're building on? How distributed is our team? Can we be co-located within 15 meters of each other? And it's nice when we can. What's our governance model? Are we in a heavily compliance-driven industry and we have to have a lot of rigorous documentation to keep the FAA or the FDA, the drugs people or whatever, happy? Or are we more in that startup space where we'll build automated cars and not worry if they crash? Yeah, no. What's the rate of change? Different environments, we do see a different rate of change happening. And what is the age of the system? Are we building on top of some of those legacy 30-year-old COBOL systems that, by the way, still run most big businesses in the world? Or is this the very, very latest Haskell using Bitcoin and all sorts of fancy new technologies with a voice interface? We've gone beyond even screens now. We talk to it. Hey, Siri. And how many of your phones have just said yes? So what is... As a product owner, why do I care about that stuff? Because it is going to impact the way I'm going to be able to do my job. But we think about what the work of product ownership, product management in many organizations, right the way out to the customer. Oh, and by the way, do some marketing as a product owner. Advocate for the business and for the customers and for our end user. Horrible term, user. The only other domain where we talk about users is drug addiction. Yeah. Maybe we should call them our victims. Make sure you've got domain subject matter knowledge and be good at analysis. this ability to break things down into constituent components for understanding and build models and do all of those things. Understand user experience and graphic design. Be an innovator and communicate effectively and make good decisions. And oh, by the way, if it goes wrong, it's your fault. We'll get the lawyers on you. That's Superwoman. And she's also a fairy tale. No human being can do all of that on anything except the most trivial of products. And this is why my premise that we need to support our product owners with a team of skills. So I want the concept of the single delivery team, a group of people who work together very, very closely, but have slightly different focuses. The value-focused team members looking outwards, and the delivery-focused team members largely focusing on actually building the product. A lot of interaction and a lot of communication. And the intent of this picture is that they are looping around and talking and listening to each other constantly. But it's worth drilling a little bit into what are some of the skill sets. We need a value facilitator, product owner, product manager. If I you can extend the metaphor of the team, this is the team captain. And that's a really important aspect. If I think of a soccer team, the captain sets the style of play and sets the general direction. But when the ball comes in front of one of the team members, they don't go, "Captain, can I kick it?" We know where we're going. We kick in the right direction. And we're all working together with this shared common vision. And the team captain's responsibility is to convey that shared common vision very clearly. So I'm not saying we don't need that single direction, and we definitely need the team captain responsibility. The person that is the arbiter of decisions. But we probably need something like project management, especially if you're in a complex environment where what you're building is a product that has to fit into a large enterprise space where maybe we've got marketing departments that have got to do stuff. We've got training for all our employees in the organization as we bring in this business change. And those are projects. So we need some project management. Maybe. We need some interface to governance. Now, depending on our level of criticality in our governance model, this could be, and I've worked on teams where we had a full-time lawyer because so much of what we were doing was impacted by had legal ramifications. On others, it's okay, where are the guidelines? But knowing who knows this stuff. We probably need somebody with that user acceptance viewpoint who does understand user experience. We need our subject matter experts, our SMEs, the business knowledge. We want somebody to be the champion, the visionary. Now, most of the time it's going to be that same person, but it might not be. I worked with one organization, we were doing product owner training. We had 20 people in the class. And when we actually got down to the decision-making aspect of product ownership, we discovered they didn't have 20 product owners. They had 1 and 20 assistants. The sole person who made decisions and who had that vision was the chief executive officer. And no decisions got made without his involvement. We need analysis skills, that analysis and modeling skill set. And we definitely need the interface to and the engagement with the delivery aspect of the team. And in Scrum, that's the Scrum Master. Horrible term, should be the Scrum Servant. Again, we take somebody, we had them 2 days training, we tell them they are a master, and many of them come back and are, I'm the master, do what I tell you. We do know that the intent of the description of Scrum is this is somebody who has mastered the mindset of Scrum. Unfortunately, the intent and the implementation are often lost. And then when we look inside at the members of the team who are inwardly focused, we need, again, those analysis skills. We need engineering and development team. We need architecture and technical leadership. We need that delivery team facilitator. We want that value team facilitator. So these two are busy people, by the way. And we need some sort of testing. Now, depending on what you're building, those skill sets are going to be wide or narrow. I would love to have full stack developers who understand quality assurance and testing, and everybody is just an engineer. I've seen that once. Pivotal Labs do it quite well. Not many other organizations that I've come across. So what do you think? I do still have some brains left. Another couple of minutes. Does this make sense? And what is the challenges? What would prevent you bringing these ideas into your way of working? So, another 3 minutes, folks. Conversation. Talk to this new friend that you just made. Okay. So a very rapid feedback session. Will this work, and what are the implications? Okay. Right. Right, folks, can I get your attention back? So some thoughts here from the front.
It's look nice, but I think I will really have
You'd have a huge head count. Do we need lots more people? How many of those skills could sit in one or two individuals? Now, depending, I will say, if we go back to the Octopus model, if you've got a very large initiative with a in a very complex environment, you might need the skill set in each individual. But, or each skill set might need one or more people. On the other hand, if you're in a smaller environment, you might need 2 or 3 people with many skills. Those are skill sets and competencies, not job titles. His brain is bouncing. All right. Yeah.
So one of the things we started shifting our organization is instead of looking at things as a role,
Yeah.
as a person, they're just hats that people wear.
Yeah, hats that people wear, yeah.
It becomes more organic where something like DevOps pops up, right? We don't have to create a DevOps role.
Yeah.
And team members go, oh, this is really cool. I want to wear that hat for the next month or two to learn it up and be that person. And someone goes, oh, actually, that looks like pretty
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from you so I can wear that hat myself.
Yeah. Cool. So sharing hats and wearing hats. These brains are bouncing suddenly. Other thoughts? Yeah.
Well, then the concept of the product ownership should be discussed with the Scrum Master, and the Scrum Master should play a key role because the person that being a Scrum Master should really understand what is actually happening in the business, but also at the same time he used to know about what's happening in the technicals.
Yep.
That is become a translator to discuss with the product owner what should be happening if this can be implemented.
Yeah. So the feedback cycle and the interaction is really important. Those 2 circles where everything is running around, really, really important. Lots and lots of interaction going on.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay, I'll hold the rest of the brains for later. But one of the patterns, one of the problems that I see with product ownership is the backlog itself. Our backlog is this interminable list of 250 items. I've seen pictures of the backlog as a stack of plates, and just take the next one off the top. The implication there is that we can know everything about 250 user stories in advance. I prefer a metaphor that looks at the backlog as the rocks that are going into an ore crusher. I did a lot of work with diamond mines. And in not the alluvial mines where you pan for diamonds, but the mines where they blast the rock out of the ground and they push it through a crusher. They bring up these 2-ton rocks and they break them down through a series of different crushers. And along the way, what they're doing is discarding most. And if we think about our backlog in that way, there's a few things that we want at the bottom that we know. These are the gemstones that really, really we want to build. Then there's the stuff that's a little bit further away, that's quite chunky, and we know we want something in there, but we don't know precisely where the gem is, but we don't actually need to worry about understanding it in detail yet. And then when we get even further away are the 1 and 2 ton boulders that are massive features that we know we're going to need at some point, but precisely how they're going to work, I've got no idea, and I honestly don't really care at this point in the project. What we need now, what we need soon, what we want someday, and our wishful thinking, our time spans. But a really important factor is as it gets closer, it's getting smaller, and we're throwing away most of it. If we think of the Pareto principle. 80% of value comes from 20% of the features in a typical product. Well, let's just build the 20%. Find the gemstones and discard the rock and the rubble. That's product ownership. The value in product ownership is identifying the gems in the backlog. It's not having 250 items, or I saw one backlog that was nearly 5,000 items. No single human being can understand 5,000 items in a backlog. Now, Evan drew this picture a few minutes ago, next door. The concept of value versus velocity. Velocity is the rate at which we deliver work. And I don't care if you're measuring it in story points or strawberries or whatever, it's just the rate at which we deliver work. Value, on the other hand, is harder to measure. And again, the skill of product ownership is assigning value to the items in the backlog down here, the small pieces. Up there is value, yes. But I'm actually okay that value is a little bit obscure at that level. When it comes down here, I want to be able to say, what is the precise value to this organization of having this user story or backlog item implemented? And that's a hard metric. And then I want to plot it. And I want to be able to see. And the general shape is an S-curve. The first few iterations, we're doing the boring stuff. But maybe we get to our MVP, our minimum viable product, and suddenly the curve goes up. At this point, we're getting bang for the buck. The return that the organization is getting for the investment that we're putting into producing the product is really useful. But then over here, it starts to flatten out. Now, if I'm a project manager that's measured on time and budget and scope, I'm going to do the blue line. You're going to get to there. I want to stop that. And this is value management as a product ownership skill, is to know when to recognize when the curve is flattening out and actually stop work. Because you know what? All that other stuff in the backlog will not generate value for our organization. Stop now. 5 minutes to go. The other aspect of product ownership is innovation. This is a quote that's 10 years old now, but it still applies. Jim Highsmith. The number one challenge of agile project management is creating a culture of innovation. Everything else pales in comparison. Agile projects often attempt to implement the new, the untried, and the nearly impossible. This is not the problem domain in which controlling tasks to achieve a fixed plan will succeed. This is a problem domain that demands the innovative exploration of possibilities. That is product ownership. The innovative exploration of possibilities, the experimentation mindset, the learning, and identifying things that matter. Albert Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge. What you can perceive, what you can see, is where value comes. So to wrap it up, the product owner role is really important. The team needs a captain. But the way it's defined and the way it's implemented is flawed, if not broken in many organizations. Project environments are complex and varied. There is no one size fits all. My agile is not your agile. They should not be the same. We need that diverse team with diverse skills and experience, a variety of viewpoints, value first, and the backlog is not just a long list of user stories. Think of it as the ore crusher and take the gems. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Sting. Yep.
Any questions, or have we got time for questions or not? Cool. So any questions?
About that training. So after the training,
Mhm.
after the failure streets reflective,
Mm-hmm.
we just discard the product or
Yeah. Stop.
stop.
There is no value in there might be value, but there's not enough value in the items that are left on the backlog. Discard that backlog. Bring a different backlog to that team.
You mean that to innovate?
Yeah. Yeah. Stop doing things.
Is there anything else? Okay, one more.
Quick question is basically it's like contradicted between the budget that top management or stakeholder want to provide and that comment that the project is we need to have imagination and try and
Yeah.
try and error, but the top management will say I spend a lot of money, don't do it, try and error. I need specific deliverable by when.
Yeah, so-
how can we bridge this?
What we have to do is to move away from measuring success by that old iron triangle. Budget is a constraint. This is the most we can afford to spend. That's a different conversation to you must meet exactly this figure. If I can deliver the value for less, well, why not? On the other hand, if I can show that by spending, say, $100,000 more, we can generate $20 million extra value, what manager doesn't want that? But we've got to start measuring the right things, the hard things, which are about value as opposed to busyness and effort.
So at the beginning, it's mostly abstract.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why we have the shape of that curve, and we're watching that curve carefully. Because if that curve stays flat for too long, kill it.
Who can decide that?
That should be that product owner responsibility. That product ownership is making value-based decisions for the organization, and they should be empowered to make those value-based decisions. And if they're not, then all we've done is we've taken our old project management thinking and we're just given it a veneer of agile. Oh, sorry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shin Hastie. Give applause to Mr. Shin Hastie for this awesome.
Thank you very much, folks. And if anyone really wants a brain, come and see me.